What's up, guys? Welcome back to the World Championship Series of America. You're watching Day 2 of the Challenger League. Of course, we wrapped up the Premier League last week as far as the round of 32 is concerned. We're down to 16. They're going to be playing live in studio next week. I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav. Of course, a little bit of a later start today. Had some technical hiccups, but we're here and we're ready to go. Nick, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing excellent.
Good.
Yesterday's matches were so exciting. We saw a bunch of great games. In fact, we could just take a look at how yesterday went right now. We saw, in fact, Theognis 2-0.
Wow.
The Tyrant,
Wow.
Jadon.
What a result that is, though, for him. I'm
Wow.
sure he's
That's a big
super
win.
excited about that. Of course, Team Root Gaming going to be really happy about that as well. You know, the feel of, all right, Koreans winning everything, and then Theognis, you know, talks a little bit of crap, you know, an hour before the match starts, and then takes the 2-0 over Jadong. Awesome result from him. Of course, after that, we saw Major 2-0 Xenocider. Of course, you know, the 2-0 might be a little bit, you know, on paper, people are like, oh, 2-0, he smashed him. You know, Xenocider, just some random Terran North American. No, those games were actually pretty close. In fact, I would suggest you guys definitely go check all of these matches out there on our YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/officialmlgse2. And then, of course, we had Phoenix versus Bales, which is actually a pretty exciting series.
It really was. Phoenix's multitasking was just absolutely everywhere. Bales, you know, was very safe and conservative, and in the major engagements, I think he played very well. But Phoenix was just at too many places too often, and Bales just couldn't handle the multi-pronged aggression, and eventually fell 1-2 in that series. Of course, following that, we had a pretty crazy match between Vibe and Sage. A lot of funky openings. Aggressive.
We had a pylon block and a cannon rush and two hatcheries, a hatchery and then someone else's base, and then a Ling run by, and then an Artosis pylon to finish everything off. It was a fun game. Was that game one?
That was game one.
Okay.
Yeah. A great series. Of course, today we have Maker versus Demuslim, followed by Illusion versus Maxed, Minigun versus Ian, and then Killer versus Top. We'll talk more about these matchups in a second. But first, let's say what's going on the rest of this week.
Of course, on Wednesday, we're going to have Heart versus Tasia, State versus Drunken Boy, Ghost User versus Huang Xin, and Idra versus Puck again. Every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern, we have something going on this week. It's going to be Challenger League matches, of course, moving into Thursday. And it's important to note that these matches, if you lose, you're not out of the Challenger League. That's not how it works. If you lose here, you're going to be knocked down to the group stage of the Challenger League. This is the bracket stage. The winner of the bracket stage, there's 8 different brackets, gets a spot in the Premier League.
That's right. So if you do well here, you go straight to Premier League. If you don't do well, you get one last chance in that group stage. Of course, Thursday we're going to see Oz versus Jim. And this is one of the only matchups, I think, in WCS America where you can honestly say the non-Korean is probably favored.
Jim has been tearing it up.
Yeah, Jim is absolutely insane. You know, I haven't gotten to see too much of his play just because a lot of these Chinese players don't play in that many events outside of China.
That's a great point. And we also have some, at least one Taiwanese player that we're going to see today, and Ian, of course, is his handle. So that should be pretty exciting to see, you know what he's been up to. But again, we have awesome StarCraft 2 action coming your way every single day, Monday through Thursday this week. And of course, next week as well is going to be a live event. The first match of the day is going to be Maker versus Demuslim. Of course, a lot of people have been talking about Demuslim and how good he looks. He's been on the top of the North American ladder for a very long time. He's a very charming guy as well, has a great accent, has a very involved stream, very funny stream, you know, incorporates a lot of commentary, so definitely something you want to check out if you're a Terran player looking to improve. But here you see some statistics. If we're looking at, you know, in the past year, what has he really done? It's hard. Like, he hasn't had those major tournament results. Of course, 2012 WCS UK was second place there, but beyond that, as far as the year 2012. Not too much data from him.
That's right. Of course, he's going to be looking to kind of put his foot down and make his stand here in WCS America. He's been doing so well lately as far as just streaming versus world-class players. A lot of success in the games that don't matter that much. Let's see if he can duplicate that success in the games that do matter here in the Challenger Division of WCS America. Of course, his opponent is going to be Maker.
Yeah, Maker was 4th in a group involving Alicia, Moonglade, and Illusion. So one of the tougher groups, I think, in, of course, the Premier League round of 32. Alicia and Moonglade getting out of that one. Illusion coming very, very close, but unable to make it happen. Of course, we're going to be seeing him play today as well. But Maker, you know, one of those Terran players that we don't know a lot about. Of course, coming from Mexico, kind of in the shadow of Major. Interestingly enough, they have very similar names. Maker is the kind of guy, he's pretty young, 19 years old. We actually had a chance to have a conversation with him before his match, before his matches last week or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, during the round of 32. And, he obviously puts a lot of thought, a lot of effort into the game. But I do think he might be considered the underdog here.
I definitely think it's safe to say so. I mean, Demuslim is one of those guys who does very, very well against pretty much almost anyone he runs into on a North American ladder.
Yeah.
He's one of those top people on the ladder. One thing to note about Demuslim is his mechanics, his micro, are very, very strong. He's one of these guys you don't want to go up against him in a micro war. His Marine stutter step is up there with some of the top Korean players. The one thing Maker can do, though, is Demuslim's a guy who is so scary, but then sometimes he's a little bit absent-minded. I've been watching his stream a lot, and it's like, he'll be looking so good, and then he'll just forget to look at his base, and one Zealot kills like 20 SCV. So if Maker can really do a lot of kind of funky harasses, offbeat timings, do some things that aren't usual, Demuslim may, not see it coming and get caught off guard. And so that's the way I think Maker has to approach playing Demuslim.
Of course, the matchup is going to be TVT between Maker and Demuslim, and whenever you're talking about TVT, you're going to have to consider those early game builds as far as, okay, do we get a fast expansion? Is one of the players going to go for those very heavily one base invested double gas, Cloak Banshee stuff, maybe Widowmine drop play, maybe Hellbat drop play? As far as the current metagame is concerned in TVT, that's definitely not something that's strange to see. You're going to see Terran players go for those one base drops. You're going to see them potentially follow up with those Cloak Banshees. If you had to choose a player that would do that in this game one, who would it be, do you think?
I feel like it's going to be Maker.
Yeah.
Demuslim's a guy, he really loves his bio in TVT. I've seen him go mech once or twice or 3 times. I mean, he definitely experiments with it, especially when he's laddering. But when it comes down to tournament games, Demuslim's a guy who almost never goes full mech. He trusts the bio, because if you go Marines versus Marines, it's so much down to mechanics. If you get more Marines than your opponent, if you micro them better, you're going to win those engagements. And that's something Demuslim does very, very well in those straight Marine versus Marine engagements. Mech is a little bit trickier. If you make a small oversight, you can get punished. And we saw that happen with Major versus Alive.
Yes.
2 weeks ago in the Premier League. Is Major's mechanics are insane, but he went mech on Daybreak and he was playing so well. He was actually ahead in supply for most of the game. And then he just forgot to guard this one little passageway. Alive ran straight through there, got into his main, and camped the production. From there on, it was in trouble. So I don't think Demuslim wants to take the game in that direction where it's more positional. I think he wants to make it, focus it on, okay, who has better mechanics and solid RTS fundamentals.
It's also important to note, Demuslim came through qualifiers, whereas Maker came from the Premier League. Again, he got 4th in that group involving Alicia, Moonglade, and Illusion. And the trend yesterday that we saw was every single Premier League player that dropped down to the Challenger League after getting 3rd or 4th place in the round of 32 group, they won. They won their matches yesterday. So will that theme continue? But, if it's Maker against Demuslim. Demuslim, again, I feel like he's one of the strongest players in Challenger League. I do think it's going to be an uphill battle here for Maker.
It is, but, if you talk about yesterday,
yeah,
uphill battle, Theognis versus Jadon,
yep.
No problem. Uphill battle, Vibe versus Sage, yeah, of course, those are both uphill battles. And the people who fell down from the Premier division went out on top.
Yes.
I actually saw there was a poll going around, and most people thought only one person from the group who dropped down from Premier League would win their match today. Out of Maker, Killer.
Oh.
So people don't think it's going to be repeated yesterday, where the Premier Division players are going to do very well. I don't know. We'll have to see. I kind of agree with them. I feel like today, on paper, the players coming into the Challenger Division are stronger than their counterparts. I'm particularly excited to see Killer play, but that's later down today, of course. Today.
Yeah. Killer was in the group of death in the round of 32, if I remember correctly.
And he didn't.
He almost
third.
got out.
He got 3rd.
Yeah, he beat Alive, and then he ended up losing twice.
That was in a group with Major. So
Yes.
we saw how good Major was yesterday. That was the group where Major went 0-4. That group. He got 0-2'd by Hero, and then 0-2'd by Alive.
Right.
And Killer almost made it through that group. He beat Alive, then unfortunately lost to
rematch.
Hero, and he had to rematch. He wasn't able to
Yeah,
make it happen. So but it looks like the first map is going to be Star Station.
Ooh, interesting. A bio-type map, I would say for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, be sure to get on Twitter, get on Reddit, get on Team Liquid. We're about to get started with the first match of the evening. We have 4 matches on the slate. Once again, Maker versus Demuslim, Illusion versus Maxed, Minigun versus Ian, and Killer versus Top. And, top Ian Max said 3 players that are shrouded in mystery a little bit, 2 Chinese, 1 Taiwanese player involved there. So I'm really looking forward to the entire night, as we're going to be up a pretty long time here casting these awesome games. Of course, it was interesting yesterday. We had some very long games, very exciting games, and I don't see a reason why that couldn't happen again.
It's very likely to. Of course, Demuslim and Maker are both aggressive players. So, TVT sometimes get in that positional stalemate type situation, although actually not so much in Heart of Storm. With the speed medevacs, even Mech is going to be pretty active as far as mobility and able to break contains. But both these players are so aggressive, I don't think we're going to see the game get super long, unless it's one of those weird situations where both players kill each other, then it kind of resets, and it happens again and again and again. You're at like the half-an-hour mark, and no one's ever gotten past 100 supply.
Yeah.
That is possible with both these guys. They're very aggressive.
So, if I put you on the spot and asked you to predict the result of this best of 3, what would you say?
I have to say Demuslim. I feel like Demuslim's strongest matchup may be TVT even, because Demuslim's weakness is mis-scouting all-ins.
Right.
Especially versus Protoss, I think it was his weakest match, just because he often gets caught off guard by different all-ins. But TVT, I don't think that is as much of a factor. I mean, as long as you know the basic tools they have to work with are the same as yours, usually you don't see Terrans really make those one-base all-ins work. I mean, maybe a Cloak Banshee does a lot of damage, but that's something. If it's only the 1 or 2 possible threats, you can usually account for those and defend them pretty well.
All right, Demuslim had to visit the loo, but he's returned. He said he is ready. Of course, we're live right now, guys, watching Day 2 of WCS America Challenger League. The countdown has begun. Map number 1 is going to be Star Station between Maker and Demuslim. Demuslim considered the favorite here by a lot of people, but remember, the first match yesterday, we had Theognis versus Jaedong. And Jaedong was considered the favorite by many. Theognis able to pull off the upset 2-0 victory. We'll have to see what happens here. Nick, would you be so kind as to...
Our first player in the top left corner of Star Station, number 2 from Mexico in last year's WCS, we have Maker. And his opponent, number 2 from the UK in WCS last year, we have Demuslim. It's actually kind of neat. Both players last year in their country's WCS tournament got 2nd place.
Yes, that is true.
That's kind of neat, the way that works out.
I would consider... Do you think if it was UK versus Mexico, Team League, all-kill format, you each get 5 players, who would win?
That's so hard to predict.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't know. Both UK and Mexico has a lot of really great players. I feel if you talk about the whole United Kingdom, so you can include like Scotland with Johnny Rico, and I know there's a couple really good players from Ireland as well.
Sure.
Then I think it has advantage. If you just say just England versus Mexico, I think that would be insanely close. I mean, I don't even know. I honestly, I couldn't predict that.
Yeah, I don't know the full Mexican scene. Like, honestly, if I'm thinking of players, Major and Maker are the first ones that come to mind, but beyond that, it's kind of hard to say.
I believe Cham is from Mexico. I'm not positive. We saw him. He almost qualified for this challenge. I think he was 1 match off. He lost, I think, Bales in the final match. And I think he's a young Mexican too. I think he's young.
He's very young.
Yeah.
And that seems relatively thematic. Major, 19 years old. So is Maker, 19 years old. He started young there in Mexico.
Okay, looking at Maker, we already see some of his trademark aggression may come into play here. Maker going 2 barracks early on. Of course, this is going to be Reaper aggression. And the idea is that you try to get 4 Reapers when your opponent only has 3 to 4 Marines. You can overwhelm that Marine count, micro really well, lose no Reapers, and then if you can camp the production of your opponent, even when you get out of Helling, if you just kill a Helling before can you really get back that speeds to repair, before it can meet up with sufficient support, that's where you can all of a sudden do a ton of damage to your opponent.
All right, Demuslim getting a 2nd barracks as well, has a reactor on it, added on to one of his existing barracks. So it looks like we're going to see some Marine production. But I feel like, this is going to be an expansion type build from Demuslim, I would imagine.
I don't know. It looks like both players are going to just mass Reapers. I mean, Demuslim's build is more aggressive than Maker's. He's getting that reactor. This almost feels like Demuslim studied his opponent and said, okay, my opponent's going to go 2 racks Reaper. I'll just go 3 racks Reaper. I'll have more Reapers and I'll win.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he's having a slightly slower start because of that reactor, but once that kicks in, he's going to have a Reaper advantage. But this is cross map on Star Station. It takes a long time to cross this map, and so Maker's going to have the faster expansion, of course, because he's making less Reapers. He only has 1 gas, no reactor. I feel if Maker knows what the Muslim's doing, he has advantage. But remember, neither player has scouted yet. So Maker doesn't know the Muslim is just making a whole ton of Reapers. So if he moves out and ends up fighting 3 Reapers versus potentially more than that, he could be in trouble.
It's going to come down to a lot to positioning who's going to get that first shot off. But this is something you see every day as far as Reaper versus Reaper, at least to this amount. We have 3 Reapers in production at a time here from Demuslim. Going to start poking at the front door with 2 of his Reapers trying to find out what's going on. Sees 2 supply depots. Sees the add-ons onto those barracks, and here come the rest. Actually, it's Maker coming back.
The Muslim cannot afford to lose any Reapers here because he's the player who needs to get some damage done. He's going to be behind in economy, and he can't get damage done if he can't get a superior Reaper count. He needs to wait for his superior production to kick in.
All right, Maker going across the map here, and just seeing 2 Reapers there, he's not necessarily going to know that it's going to be that Demuslim's making as many Reapers as he can. But Demuslim, I wonder if he's going to try to hide his Reapers.
Exactly, setting up a trap. If Maker chases him up the ramp, he's going to be annihilated. Demuslim might even cut him off here. 6 Reapers versus 5.
Oh gosh, Demuslim is very happy to engage here. You got to micro back those weakened Reapers. He's going to chase him away. There's an element of trying to trap him as far as if you commit too far into that natural expansion, you can't necessarily retreat as easily because Demuslim could just swing over and try to get that flank, but Maker is able to get away, and now we're seeing 35 to 33 in the supply count, but no drastic damage being done there from either player, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think that's important for Maker because Demuslim needed a big win there to make this counter sweep do the damage he needs to have it done. Maker was able to escape with 2 Reapers, and those 2 Reapers are so important to this composition.
Oh, coming in here, I think take down an SCV, going to be running away a Marauder out on the field. For Maker, going to be playing the hero.
Demuslim's still only on a single command center, going straight for looks like to be medevac. So we're going to see some draw play from him. A lot of Marines being produced. So he's going to try to bully his opponent over here. That's going to be a tough thing to do, though. He's just doing like some mass stim Marine all in off 1 base. I have not seen this in TBT yet.
Yeah, he has 4 barracks, a factory, a starport, all on 1 command center, and Maker needs to be able to identify this. I mean, if I'm thinking about ways to kind of respond, maybe get a siege take on it. Does he even have a factory?
This is the situation where if Maker identifies the build, he wins. He can literally just build, a couple bunkers. The Muslim is so committed to making this work. He still has no expansion. He's still just producing Marines. If Maker can see it coming, he should be able to hold it. But the thing is he has no idea it's coming at him because the Reapers have gone total map control for the Muslim. Right. Maker has no vision. His units are the first time he'll see this coming is with his units. And then with Stim Pack, he could lose his whole army before he even knows what build's going on here.
I mean, because if we're talking about what he was able to scout out before, he just saw the Mash Reaper play from Demuslim, and you're probably going to be thinking, okay, he's putting a command center down behind this. You're not necessarily going to be thinking right away that, oh, he's just adding on barracks, he's adding on a factory, adding on a starport. He's going to charge at me with, a bunch of Marines, Marauders with Stim and medevacs, and this is looking like a very scary push here from Demuslim. He's up 71 to 62 in supply, but here's the Stim for Maker. He's coming out here, but there is a medevac for Demuslim, so Maker backing up right away.
Oh, and he had to burn that whole Stim. That's a big deal. He has no medevacs. He used that Stim and got a single Reaper kill for it. Demuslim, as soon as he gets Stim Pack, he's going to have medevacs, Stim Pack Marines. Maker will have combat shield and +1 if he can wait a few more seconds. Those could be big tools, but he's got to buy that time.
Medevac's giving that high ground vision here to Demuslim, going to take down a supply depot, or at least make it burn. There it goes. Maker trying to decide, all right, how do I approach this? Again, he can't just go stimming everywhere. I don't think he doesn't even have a starport, so it's not like he's going to get medevacs. But there's the stim from Maker. He wants to go for it right now. Demuslim, he has 3 medevacs overhead, and it looks like Maker's going to be shoved away, and Demuslim taking momentum here.
Oh, Maker needed his SCVs in front of his army. Now he pulls them, but there's no DPS behind him. Demuslim's army is too strong with medevac support. This may end it. Maker making double starports, but...
There it is. There's the G. Wow. What an interesting build from Demuslim.
That was a crazy build.
Yeah.
You know what's kind of neat about that is normally if your opponent scans and you see that build, they're going to win.
Yeah.
But the way to open with Reaper versus Reaper, people aren't going to be using the scans because both players are a little bit behind in their builds because they went to Reapers, and like 90% of the time, Reapers are followed up with a command center like we saw from Maker. So he just kind of assumes, like, hey, my opponent's going to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's whenever you assume stuff, it's going to be a dangerous situation. But, you know, Demuslim, I feel like the flexibility of that build is pretty interesting as far as, all right, we can attack the front door with Marines and Marauders with Stim, try to bait Stims out of our opponent, which he was able to do successfully. But if you can't necessarily get that momentum at the front, you can potentially pick up and go right into the main base, do something like that. So very interesting opening there from Demuslim. But I don't think that's something you can do again in a best of 3.
No, it's not. That's really a one-time trick build, one-time pad, as they'd say in cryptography. But it worked that one game. We're not going to see him do it again. He may break it out once in 10, 20, 30 games. We may never even see him use that again, except once more on the ladder when everyone calls for it on the stream.
Definitely something that, you know, you Terran players at home on the ladder, it's something fun to try out.
Yeah.
Very cool build there from Demuslim. He's going to take game 1 in this best of 3. Of course, the winner of this best of 3 advances to the next bracket, next round in the bracket of the Challenger League. Guys, stay tuned. Game 2 between Maker and Demuslim coming up.